Happy Tarot Tuesdays, everyone. I'm Dr. Maria de Blasi, a professor, writer, and Bruja, and this is my Bruja's Guide to Tarot, in which I consult the tarot in order to help us heal our relationship to joy, pleasure, and the magic of everyday life. Essentially, I'm all about hope as an important part of the healing process, especially for those of us with marginalized identities who are always grappling with issues of ancestral and generational trauma and internalized and institutionalized oppression. Now, this week's card, the Seven of Wands reversed, is a lovely one, particularly because I think upon first reading it can look like a negative card, but it's actually quite beautiful. Now, upright, this card is all about holding your ground. You see the figure firmly planted in the earth, the high ground. They're on this beautiful hill and they have their staff or their wand ready to fight off all the other people coming at them and situations coming at them. Now, what I think is particularly interesting about this card is that the threats or the things trying to take this person or challenge this person or get them off their perch, they are all represented by the wands, but we don't see actual figures. So what that indicates is that in many ways the obstacles, the situation, the people that are threatening you or challenging you or getting in the way of your own joy, in many ways the specificity of those situations don't matter because they're all the same. It's like that saying, haters gonna hate. That's what these ones represent. We don't see actual figures or faces because that energy is always the same. So upright, this card is like, yeah, you've got the energy to hold your ground and maintain the higher ground. Notice how the figure is elevated over the wands coming at them. So it's very much about not just protecting yourself and the higher ground, but protecting your higher self. And the wand, which is a very fiery energy, it's phallic, it's healthy masculinity, that aggression and assertion of self in the world. It says you have the energy to do just that. Protect your higher self and maintain the high ground in all battles. Yay, so a very positive card, right? Reversed, which is what this card is this week, you see a very different interpretation. It's about giving up the fight and saying there's no way I'm gonna win this thing. Now, on the surface, that sounds pretty negative, but in reality, it's a beautiful card. It's about calling a spade, recognizing that certain things aren't going to ever feel resolved or complete or fully healed. And that the best thing you can do for yourself, for your higher self on that hill right there, is to walk away. You don't need to fight every battle that comes knocking on your door, and you don't need to give energy to things that don't always feel resolved in your life. Sometimes the best form of defense and protection is to simply not give things energy. Now, when this card comes up, it can point out moments where you're maybe giving too much energy to battles or situations or people that really don't need or deserve that time and attention. You know, you're directing too much fire energy to something that really karma or life will take care of. It can also pop up when you've been maybe looking to the past too much, trying to heal or fix or otherwise reconcile yourself to things that have happened in the past. So we've all had those situations that can still make us feel a little heartbroken or wounded. And in many cases, those aren't wounds or heartbreaks that'll ever fully heal or go away. But this card says that's okay. They don't need to. And when we always look to the past trying to fix those or think about what we could have done better or, you know, going back to old habits to try and fix those things today, all that does is reopen the wound and re-trigger the heartbreak, right? So instead of looking to the past, acknowledge that those things happen. You were a different person when they did. You have since moved on, and that you might not ever feel completely healed from those things, but it's not your job to fix them or to fight for who you were when you were, or to fight, excuse me, to fight for a sense of closure in those situations, right? You've moved on, and so the best thing for you to do is to stop fighting those battles. Now, interestingly, a lot of those feelings come up when you are growing and moving on and freeing yourself from old cycles. It can be really tempting to fall back on those old patterns, returning to old situations and worrying your brain about what you could have done better, what you could have fixed, or how you can maybe go back to old spaces and make them better now. Those are just old ghosts talking to you and telling you to get back into your comfort zone. Even though a previous space or situation might have been toxic, it's also comforting because it's familiar. So as you grow and move forward, resist the temptation to return to old battles or old forms of protecting yourself, because it's simply what you know and what you're comfortable with. Instead, take heart with the Seven of Wands and move on. Be free. Free yourself from that old stuff and recognize that even as you move on, you still have that fiery, positive masculine energy of the wands. You're still able to protect yourself in the world, even though you're feeling vulnerable in letting go of these old things. So as you move throughout the week, think about the old battles or the old demons you might be fighting, the situations you might be mulling around in your head, and just hold space for them for a moment. Acknowledge the pain they might have caused, the sense of wounding that may not ever go away, and let it go. You are not required to fight these things all the time, and you are allowed to be more than someone who's always in constant warrior mode. You are safe and protected, and you can still protect your higher self here, but it may not always look like a full-on battle, right? You're allowed to walk away. So that's all I have for you for this Tarot Tuesday. Thank you for listening, and as I always say, remember that true magic is in the everyday.